They Ask You Answer, by Marcus Sheridan. Introduction. Imagine it's January 2009. The world's economy has just crumbled. Lehman Brothers is a ghost. The stock market is in a free fall. And you're a 31-year-old pool guy, sitting in your truck on the side of a cold, dark road. You've just called the bank's automated line for the 10th night in a row, hoping for a miracle. But the robotic voice delivers the same news: your account is overdrawn. For 2 weeks, it's been the same. Your business, the one you've poured your life into for 8 years, is dying. Your employees are at home because there's no work. The business consultants you paid for have all given you the same advice: file for bankruptcy. It's over. The weight of it all crashes down. You're a husband, a father of 4. You see yourself as a problem solver, but you are completely out of answers. And so, sitting there in the dark, with the weight of the world on your shoulders, you begin to cry. That desperate, rock-bottom moment was the reality for Marcus Sheridan. He wasn't a marketing guru. He wasn't a business tycoon. He was a pool guy, on the brink of losing everything. Yet, from that place of absolute desperation, he stumbled upon a business philosophy so simple, so powerful, and so fundamentally human that it not only saved his little pool company, but has since revolutionized thousands of businesses around the world. What you're about to hear is not just a marketing strategy. It's a story about trust. It's about a profound shift in the way we, as humans, make decisions. And by the end of our time together, I promise you, you will hold the key to becoming the most trusted voice in your industry, whether you're running a global corporation or a weekend side hustle from your garage. The secret is a 4-word phrase that turned a failing pool guy into a global thought leader. They ask, you answer. Book summary. So how did we get here? How did we get to a place where the old rules of business just stopped working? Marcus Sheridan's story begins in a time that feels familiar to many: the false economy of the early 2000s. From 2001 to 2008, business was good, but it was easy. At his company, River Pools and Spas, selling a swimming pool was straightforward. The housing market was booming, and getting a loan was as easy as having a heartbeat. If you could sell it, someone would finance it. But this whole system was built on a fragile foundation. And in September 2008, that foundation cracked. The economic collapse wasn't something you just read about in the papers. It was a tidal wave that hit Main Street with brutal force. For River Pools, it was immediate. Within 48 hours of the market crash, 5 customers, who had already put down deposits, called to cancel. Just like that, $250,000 in sales vanished. This was the start of the nightmare. Savings evaporated. Credit lines were exhausted. By January, the company account was overdrawn, and Marcus and his partners were facing bankruptcy. It was in this darkness that a little flicker of an idea began to form. Marcus looked at his own behavior. When he had a question about anything, a product, a problem, a nagging curiosity, where did he go? He went to the internet. He went to Google. He realized he was no longer an uninformed consumer about anything. The power had shifted. Knowledge was no longer locked away in the minds of salespeople. It was available to everyone, instantly. He saw that the old ways of marketing, TV, radio, newspapers, were dying a slow death. His company had spent a fortune on them, with less and less to show for it each year. The world had changed. The buyer had changed. And he knew, with a certainty born of desperation, that if his business was going to survive, it had to change too. So he began to study. Late at night, after his family was asleep, he devoured everything he could find about this new world of digital marketing. He came across terms like inbound marketing and content marketing. The definitions were full of marketing speak that went right over his head. But being a pool guy, not an MBA, was his secret weapon. He didn't see complexity, he saw a simple, human truth. He stripped away all the jargon and boiled it down to one core idea. Marcus, he thought to himself, just answer people's questions. That was it. That was the whole strategy. Stop selling. Stop promoting. Start teaching. Become the most helpful, honest source of information about swimming pools on the planet. His new company motto became his guiding star, a philosophy that would change everything. They ask, you answer. This simple phrase is the heart of the entire book. It's a business philosophy built on an obsession with the customer's mind. What are they thinking? What are they searching for? But more importantly, what are they fearing? Most businesses think they know their customers, but they really don't. They talk about themselves, their products, their features. They practice what Marcus calls ostrich marketing. When a customer has a tough or uncomfortable question, about price, about problems, about the competition, what does the business do? Like an ostrich, it buries its head in the sand, hoping the problem will go away. But the problem never goes away. In today's world, that customer just pulls out their phone and finds the answer somewhere else. And whoever gives them that honest answer first is the one who earns their trust. This brings us to one of the most eye-opening statistics in the book. Studies have shown that today, on average, 70% of the buying decision is made before a prospect ever talks to a company. Let that sink in. 70%. A decade ago, that number was probably closer to 20 or 30%. This means the battle for your customer's business is being won or lost on your website, in your articles, and in your videos, long before a salesperson ever gets a chance to say hello. Your marketing department is no longer just making brochures, it has become your most important sales team. So, armed with this new philosophy, Marcus did something incredibly simple. He sat down at his kitchen table one night and brainstormed every single question he had ever been asked by a customer over the last 9 years. After just 30 minutes, he had a list of over 100 questions. That list became his roadmap. The question itself became the title of a blog post or a video. If a customer asked, "How much does a fiberglass pool cost?" that became the title. If they asked, "What are the problems with fiberglass pools?" that became the title, too. This is where the magic truly began. Because as he started to analyze what people were reading, he made a profound discovery. He found that across every industry, buyers are obsessed with the same 5 topics. He called them the Big Five. These are the subjects that, if you have the courage to address them honestly, will generate more traffic, leads, and sales than anything else. The first, and most terrifying for most businesses, is pricing and costs. Have you ever been on a website, looking for how much something costs, and you can't find it anywhere? What's the emotion you feel? It's frustration. You feel like they're hiding something, and in that moment, trust is destroyed. Businesses have 3 main excuses for not talking about money. First, they say, every solution is different, our prices vary. Of course they do. The customer knows that. They don't expect an exact number, but they want to get a sense of the cost. You can explain the factors that drive the price up or down, and that's exactly what they're looking for. The second excuse is, our competitors will find out what we charge. This one is laughable. Your competitors probably already have a very good idea of your pricing. You're letting the people you're trying to beat dictate whether or not you build trust with the people who actually pay your bills. The third excuse is the most telling. We'll scare customers away. Think about what that really means. You're essentially saying, if I'm honest with people, they won't want to do business with me. But the truth is, what scares customers away is the lack of information. Marcus decided to face this head-on. He wrote an article titled, How much does a fiberglass pool cost? He didn't give a single fixed price. Instead, he explained that buying a pool is like buying a car. It depends on the options. He broke down every factor, from basic packages to turnkey installations with patios and landscaping. He gave broad price ranges, and after over 1,000 words, the final answer was still, "It depends." When he published that article in 2009, guess how many other pool builders in the world were talking about cost on their websites? 0. They were all ostriches. The result was explosive. Within 48 hours, his article was the #1 result on Google for anyone searching about the cost of a fiberglass pool. And this wasn't just traffic. Traffic doesn't pay the bills, sales do. Using his marketing software, he was able to track the entire journey. He could see that this one single article, born from a simple, honest answer, directly generated over $3 million in sales. One article. It saved his business. It saved his home. It saved the jobs of his employees. All because he was willing to answer the question everyone was asking but no one had the courage to address. The second subject of the Big Five is problems. When we're about to make a big purchase, we worry more about what might go wrong than what will go right. We search for negative reviews, not positive reviews. Marcus's competitors, the concrete pool builders, would always tell customers about the problems with fiberglass pools. They crack, they're too small, they look cheap. So, instead of hiding from this, Marcus embraced it. His business partner wrote an article titled, "Top 5 Fiberglass Pool Problems and Solutions." Again, the industry thought they were insane. Why would you advertise your own flaws? Because your customers are going to find out about them anyway. You can either let them discover the elephant in the room from your competitor and lose their trust, or you can point to the elephant yourself and say, "Here it is. Let's talk about it." The article was brutally honest. It said, "You know what? A fiberglass pool might not be for you. If you want a truly custom shape, or a pool deeper than 8 feet, then you should probably get a concrete pool." This act of honesty was disarming. People trusted them more because they were willing to admit they weren't the perfect solution for everyone. That one article has generated over $500,000 in sales. The third subject is versus and comparisons. Buyers love to compare things. They want to stack up option A against option B. The biggest question Marcus got was, why should I get a fiberglass pool versus a concrete one? For years, he ignored this on his website, thinking if he didn't mention concrete pools, maybe customers wouldn't know they existed. A ridiculous idea, he later realized. As he says, consumer ignorance is no longer a viable sales and marketing strategy. So they wrote the ultimate comparison article, Fiberglass Pools versus Vinyl Liner Pools versus Concrete Pools, an honest comparison. They were the first in their industry to do it. The key was to be relentlessly unbiased. The introduction of the article is a masterclass in what he calls disarmament. It essentially said, "Here at River Pools, we only sell fiberglass pools. But honestly, they might not be the best fit for you. This article will give you the honest pros and cons of all three, so you can decide which is best." By admitting their own potential flaws and acknowledging the strengths of their competitors, they instantly disarmed the reader's skepticism. The reader no longer saw them as a salesperson, but as a teacher. And the teacher always holds a special place of trust. That article also generated hundreds of thousands of dollars in sales. The final two subjects of the Big Five are reviews and best-in-class lists. We are obsessed with reviews. We want to know who the best is. Marcus noticed there was no Motor Trend Car of the Year award for the pool industry. So he created it himself. He wrote an article called The Best Fiberglass Pool Design Awards, where he reviewed the models from all the manufacturers, including his direct competitors. He gave awards to the companies he was selling against every single day. Then he took it a step further. After a sales appointment where a customer asked him who his best competitors were, he went home and wrote an article titled, "Who are the best pool builders in Richmond, Virginia?" He listed the 5 companies he respected most. And no, he did not include his own company on the list. Because the moment you put yourself on your own best of list, you lose all credibility. The customer is already on your website, they can decide for themselves if you're awesome. The result? When people searched for reviews of his competitors, they found Marcus's article. One woman was literally about to sign a contract with a competitor, decided to do one last Google search on them, found Marcus's honest review, and was so impressed by his transparency that she called him instead, and bought a $50,000 pool. That one article led to $150,000 in sales in its first year alone. This entire philosophy is perfectly captured in the story of CarMax. The used car industry was, and often still is, plagued by distrust. CarMax looked at the 4 biggest fears customers had. 1. Buying a lemon. 2. Dealing with high-pressure salespeople. 3. Getting ripped off. And 4. Buyer's remorse. Then, they systematically built their entire business model around eliminating those fears. No haggle pricing killed the high-pressure salesman. A rigorous inspection process and a Carfax report killed the fear of buying a lemon. And a 5-day, money-back guarantee killed the fear of buyer's remorse. They didn't just answer questions, they changed their entire business to make those questions irrelevant. That is the CarMax effect. They became obsessed with their customers' fears, and in doing so, became the largest used vehicle retailer in the United States. This leads to a crucial insight. What prevents most companies from adopting this philosophy? It's not the customer. It's not even the bad fits, the people who can't afford you anyway. Marcus calls it the triangle of influence. The number one group that dictates what a company will or will not say is the competition. We are so afraid of what our competitors will think or say that we choose to ignore what our customers are begging to know. We allow the people who take our business to control our ability to earn trust with the people who give us business. It's a tragedy. The most successful companies flip this triangle. They listen only to the customer. But they ask, you answer is not just a marketing philosophy. It's a revolutionary sales tool. Marcus made another stunning discovery. He analyzed everyone who had filled out a request a quote form on his website. He split them into 2 groups, those who bought and those who didn't. He was looking for the differentiator. What was the magic indicator of someone who would buy? He found it. It was the number 30. He discovered that if someone read 30 or more pages of his website before the first sales appointment, they bought from him 80% of the time. If they read fewer than 30 pages, the closing rate was only 20%. This was a game changer. It meant that every article, every video, was like another date with a customer, building trust piece by piece. By the time they reached that 30-page threshold, they weren't just a lead, they were a true believer. They had essentially sold themselves. So, he thought, if that's the magic number, how can I be more intentional about getting people to read our content? This led to the creation of assignment selling. Now, when a prospect called for a quote, the conversation changed. Instead of just booking the appointment, Marcus would say, "Of course, I'd love to come out. But this is a big investment, and I want to make sure you're fully educated. I'm going to email you a video that shows our entire installation process and a buyer's guide that will answer most of your questions. Would you be willing to review those before our appointment on Friday?" 90% of people said sure. And if they didn't, he learned that those who weren't willing to educate themselves were almost always just shopping on price, and they were never a good fit anyway. The homework became the ultimate filter. This transformed his sales process. In 2007, to sell 75 pools, he had to go on 250 sales appointments, a 30% closing rate. By 2013, using assignment selling, his team sold 95 pools by going on only 120 appointments, a closing rate of nearly 80%. And guess what the average number of pages those buyers read was? It wasn't 30. It was 105. The most incredible example of this was a surgeon and his wife, a couple we'll call the G's. One night, Marcus saw that Mr. G had viewed 374 pages of the website. A few moments later, he saw that his wife, Mrs. G, had viewed another 140 pages. Together, they had consumed over 500 pages of content about fiberglass swimming pools. When Marcus arrived for the sales appointment, Mr. G was standing in his living room holding a spreadsheet with the exact pool model and every single accessory he wanted. All he needed was the final price. Marcus walked out 45 minutes later with a signed contract and a $5,000 deposit. He realized he hadn't done any selling at all. His content had done it for him. Content never sleeps. It works 24/7, building trust with thousands of people at once, in a way no single salesperson ever could. So, how do you make this a reality in your own organization? It requires a cultural shift. It starts with a workshop where you get everyone, from sales, to leadership, to the engineers, in one room to understand the what, the how, and the why of this philosophy. And crucially, you need a content manager. This isn't a side job for the marketing intern. It's a full-time, critical role for someone who can write, interview, edit, and orchestrate this entire educational engine. Often, a trained journalist is the perfect fit. Their job isn't just to write, it's to pull the incredible knowledge out of the heads of your subject matter experts and turn it into content that your customers will love. This process of using your own team is called insourcing, and it's the key to creating authentic, powerful content. The results of this philosophy speak for themselves. River Pools and Spas went from the brink of bankruptcy to becoming the most trafficked swimming pool website in the world. They now manufacture their own pools and are on track to become one of the largest manufacturers in the world. Yale Appliance, a small, local store in Boston, became the biggest online thought leader in the kitchen appliance space, generating over $10 million in sales a year from their content, with zero advertising spend. Block Imaging, a B2B company in the medical space, generated over $20 million in sales they attribute directly to this philosophy. The stories go on, but the lesson is always the same. In 2013, the New York Times wrote a feature story on Marcus and his little pool company. The headline was, "A Revolutionary Marketing Strategy. Answer Customer Questions." Think about the irony in that title. Is it really revolutionary to answer your customers' questions? In principle, no. It's the oldest rule in the book. But in practice, in a world where everyone is shouting but no one is listening, it is the most revolutionary act of all. Commentary. When you strip everything else away, what is this book really about? It's about a return to the most fundamental element of human connection: trust. For decades, business and marketing got complicated. We developed complex theories, we created clever ads, and we built walls between ourselves and our customers. We thought the key to selling was to be slick, to be persuasive, to control the conversation. Marcus Sheridan, through his own painful journey, reminds us that we had it all backward. The greatest sales tool, the most effective marketing strategy, is not persuasion. It's education. It's the radical act of being relentlessly helpful. The most powerful lesson here is the shift in mindset from seller to teacher. A seller tries to convince. A teacher seeks to empower. A seller focuses on the transaction. A teacher focuses on the transformation. When you truly see yourself as a teacher, your entire approach to business changes. You're no longer afraid of tough questions about price or problems, because a good teacher isn't afraid of any question. They welcome it as an opportunity to build understanding and clarity. This isn't just a feel-good idea, it's profoundly practical. In a world drowning in information, the person who provides clarity is king. In an economy plagued by skepticism, the person who provides honesty is a beacon. By simply answering the questions that your customers are already asking, you're not just creating content, you're building an asset. An asset of trust that, as Marcus proved, pays dividends for years and years to come. So, how can you start putting this into practice right now? I want you to try 3 simple things. First, tonight, grab a piece of paper and do what Marcus did at his kitchen table. Brainstorm every single question you've ever been asked by a customer. Don't filter. Write down the easy ones, the hard ones, and especially the ones that make you uncomfortable. This is your treasure map. Second, pick the single most difficult question on that list. The one about your price being too high, or the one about a known weakness in your product, or the one about your biggest competitor. And tomorrow, commit to answering it. Write a brutally honest article or record a simple video. Address the elephant in the room. I promise you, the act of doing so will feel liberating, and your customers will reward you for it. Third, think about who the smartest person in your organization is. The one who has all the answers locked in their head. Schedule just 15 minutes to sit down with them with one goal: to ask them one of the questions from your list and just listen. Record the conversation. That conversation is pure gold. It's the raw material for your next great piece of content. That's it. You don't need a massive budget or a fancy degree. You just need an obsession with your customers' questions and the courage to answer them honestly. That was a summary of the Ask, You Answer by Marcus Sheridan. We've journeyed through the core of its message today, but a summary is like looking at a photograph of a feast. You can see what's on the table, but you can't taste the food. The real flavor, the true nourishment, comes from reading the book yourself. It's in the detailed case studies and the subtle shifts in perspective that a summary can't fully capture. This overview is your map, to help you decide if this is a journey worth taking. If the idea of building your business on a foundation of pure trust resonates with you, then I encourage you to grab a copy. Reading it isn't just about learning a new strategy, it's about remembering an old truth that can change the way you do business forever. You can find a link to the book in the description below. Also, if this exploration brought you any value, please take a moment to click that like button and subscribe to the channel. It lets us know we're on the right track and ensures you won't miss our next deep dive into another world-changing book from the billionaire's bookshelf. Let's continue this journey of growth together.